Okay, a review of some of the basic properties of numbers. So starting with commutative. Remember, commute is like you commute to school or work, you go back and forth, so you're moving around. So commutative tells us that we can move numbers around under addition or multiplication. So for example, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. And 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So we can move these things around. The order doesn't matter for addition and multiplication. Now notice that these don't work for subtraction or division. So 3 minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus 3. And 3 divided by 2 is not the same as 2 divided by 3. Okay, so these are specific for addition or multiplication. Now there are times that we can move things around, if we change this to addition or we change these into fractions. There are some ways around this, but they don't always specifically work for subtraction and division. Associative, it means that you can change the grouping, so you can change the associations between the numbers. So let's see, for this one we could have 2 plus 3 plus 4, or we could have 2 plus 3 plus 4. Okay, so this is saying 2 plus 7 is 9, 5 and 4 is also 9. We can add them in any order that we want, and it still works. And then for multiplication, we'd have 2 times 3 times 4 is the same as 2 times 3 times 4. So 2 times 12 is 24, 6 times 4 is also 24. So the associative property works as well for addition and multiplication. So for how we're going to use these for right now, I mean, these are kind of basic properties that are going to help us solve equations, but you can also use them to rewrite expressions. So they may say, rewrite the expression using the commutative property. Okay, so rewrite the expression using the commutative property, and it may say like 7 plus 2x. So we can rewrite that as 2x plus 7. Okay, so for example, we could rewrite the expression using the associative property. Okay, so let's say it was like 3 times 2x. Okay, we know that we could regroup that as 3 times 2 times x, and that's one way that we simplify, right? We regroup this so we can do the 3 times 2 and make that 6x. Okay, so whatever the property is, you would just use that to rewrite the expression that you're given. Okay, up here, the distributive property. So order of operations tells us that we have to do b plus c first, but if we can't, this gives us a way out of it. So if we have two things that we can't combine, so one example would be apples and oranges, and we want to multiply that, double it, triple it, whatever, we would have to double or triple each piece separately. Okay, so we can write it like this. Okay, we can distribute that number over the parentheses by doing a times b and a times c. So for example, we could have 3 times 2x minus 5. Okay, and this property does work over division and subtraction because we're multiplying it out. Okay, so when we distribute this, we're going to do 3 times 2x minus 3 times 5. And then we can simplify, just like we did over here. 3 times 2 is 6, so that's 6x, and 3 times 5 is 15. And notice that the sign over here stays the same. That doesn't change. Okay, and then we can also do that with fractions. So we could do like half of 4x plus 12x. No, sorry, plus 12. Okay, so we could distribute a fraction as well. So we would have half of 4x, and we'd have half of 12. Okay, and you can either just think of this as half of 4, or you can make this a fraction. 4 over 1, 4 over 2 would be 2. And then same thing here, half of 12 is 6, or you can make it a fraction. That would be 1 times 12 is 12, over 2 times 1, 12 over 2 is 6. Okay, so that's the idea for those 3 basic properties.